Baylor men's basketball has won 4 straight games in Big 12 play, but is this win streak fraudulent? These are the 4 worst teams in the conference now. Kansas is on the docket. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Game day. Baylor, Kansas, the Bears, the Jayhawks in Waco, where Baylor has won 2 straight against KU and Bill Self. Drake Toll from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears alongside Cameron Stewart from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears. Thanks for making
a couple of guys who like to wear hoodies under jerseys.
That's right. Just talking about sports. Kicking it back. A couple of Boston guys. Thanks for making this your first listen every single day. Cam, Baylor has won 4 straight in Big 12 play. Oklahoma being arguably the biggest of their 4 wins now. They got that on Saturday. I'll start here. That was the worst college basketball game I think I've ever seen. I worked the game. I wrote for the game. Set an alarm with about 18 minutes left to go in the second half for 17 minutes and took a nap. I did. And guess what? When I woke up, nothing had changed. It was terrible and not worth watching.
It was definitely the worst college basketball game I've seen since Baylor, West Virginia. Week and a half ago.
54 fouls.
Yeah, it was I said it at some point on Twitter. It's all about perspective, whether you called it a dog fight or a rock fight. I mean, it sucked to watch. I mean, part of me wants to say that's vintage Big 12 basketball, and there's something to that, but I think both teams just didn't quite have their best out there. Baylor especially. Baylor did not play well. Keontae George was clearly sick. I'm guessing is my best option, is that he was just sick, sluggish, didn't go for that loose ball early in the game, and you're like, every shot was short. And so clearly not his 100%. So maybe that's a good thing. That was the performance they put out when their best player arguably wasn't at 100%. And then it just picks up in the last minute. Jalen Bridges becomes the clutchest player ever. Adam Flagler, just an absolute cojones 3 at the end. And that's how you do it. That's how you win in the Big 12. But yes, not the most exciting. Hopefully they're just saving their best quality for tonight.
Hopefully so. In a game that, so on the one hand, we could learn. I hate it. We could learn a lot about Baylor basketball tonight. More so to me, less the full body of work, and more so we could learn about their win streak. Is this because they're playing the lower half of the Big 12? Still great teams on both sides. But these are
great teams on both sides. Look,
but these are not the powerhouse juggernaut. It's not your Kansas State, Iowa State right now. Kansas of the league that Baylor's been beating, and now you go into Kansas, you get a true test. No, but not just Kansas. Kansas coming off of 2 losses, one of which being 83-60 at Allen Fieldhouse, TCU's first ever win in Lawrence, Kansas. Do you think Bill Self and the Jayhawks will be, say, fired up to play basketball?
Yes.
Bold take.
Yes. Is that the only part of the question, Drake? Yes, they're going to be PO'd, I think is a better way to put it.
Yes.
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know the last time Kansas lost 3 games in a row. Could have been last year for all I know. But good thing this game is not being played at Allen Fieldhouse for a couple of reasons. Never easy to play there, but Kansas coming off back-to-back losses. Yes, I'm absolutely bought into the conspiracy theories about that. And honestly, I'm not that comfortable that it isn't going to carry over to playing at the Farrell Center. They're going to get some calls tonight. They're going to get some calls tonight. And I hate to be that guy who is like Big 12 refs, because the refs suck just as much in every conference, basically.
Yeah.
But this year, these last couple games, man, specifically that West Virginia and that Oklahoma game on Saturday, I was like, it's really anyone's guess what the call is going to be here. The foul on Flo Thamba for getting elbowed in the face is a new one to me. That's what I hadn't seen before. It is anyone's guess, and that really worries me going up against Kansas. It just does. I'm sorry. It has to be taken into account a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not like there hasn't been a Baylor game in these 4 where you look at it and you go, dang, like Baylor, Oklahoma State to an extent, but home game where their best player's out. The rest of them is like, oof. Well, you won. Winners win, I guess. The winning team won. It can't be that. It can't be that. You can't have a 10-point lead against Kansas with 4 minutes to go. You need a 15 to 20-point lead against Kansas with 4 minutes to go. This has to be a put them out, shut them out, and get out of here by half for this game.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate that happening.
Oh, I don't either. I don't either.
For you to feel comfortable, I'm guessing is what you're saying. It's like,
100%. And which comfortable against Kansas is a lot of points. And them not having a lot of points. TCU, I felt like TCU was going to lose that game until 10 minutes left, where it's like, oh, shoot, Kansas just will not score. It's just the factor of like, all right, Big 12 refs, and it's Kansas. So they're probably going to win the game.
Probably. And also part of that is Kansas's quality year in, year out as well. But yes, it's tough to go up against. And I look at the numbers for this Kansas team, and honestly, and credit to Jerome Tang, I know so many people have said it, but when I look at them, I'd say they're basically Kansas State. And obviously that plays out to a 1-point overtime win for Kansas State the other night. That they're almost a carbon copy in terms of how they're made up and how they play. And I thought Baylor played well on one side of the court against Kansas State when they played them. And I think they have matured since then. None of these have been super comfortable, these wins. Maybe the Oklahoma State one, sure, yeah. Actually, that was pretty comfortable. But I think Baylor has shown in this winning streak the way they're going to win games, specifically that Texas Tech game. They broke even and then played a little bit better inside. They broke even in the paint in the first half and then played better in the paint the second half. You thought Texas Tech was going to start missing shots before they did, and they didn't. They kept hitting shots for a while. Baylor hit their shots. They won fairly comfortably. And into the last 5 minutes of that game, I thought this is about as perfect as Baylor can play in a Big 12 road game right now, right? And then they didn't score a field goal for the last 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is something that has become a theme for this Baylor team. And they did it a couple of times against OU. I don't think up until those last couple of threes, it had been a couple of minutes since they had scored a field goal. But this happens in these games now where Baylor will go 5 or 6 minutes, a half, where they don't hit shots. Their offense, you have no idea what they're going for. There's no semblance of an offense. They totally lose their focus. That happens on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the winning streak is fraudulent by any means. That's the word you used, Trey. But you just can't live like that in the Big 12. Against the bottom 4 teams, that will work, and that will get you into the tournament. That'll keep you in the rankings, because even those bottom 4 teams are pretty good compared to the bottom 4 of the other conferences. Sure. But you cannot beat the top end teams doing that. And that is what I'm so concerned about in this game tonight. You can't take 5 minutes off against Kansas. You just can't do it. And I know part of it is how this team is operating. And if you just have a cold shooting night, that's going to happen. But we've seen them diversify their offense a little bit in this winning streak. Flo Thamba specifically has been playing much better at both ends. Jalen Bridges has looked a lot better offensively the last couple of games. You need to find ways to score or break even in those 5-minute stretches. You can't have 5-minute stretches where it's 10 or 12 nothing or 14-2 and you've just hit a couple free throws. You can't have that against Kansas. So that is the thing I'm really looking for from Baylor. And to make this not seem fraudulent is to just put together a good, composed 40 minutes. I know it's tough to do in the Big 12. I know. And you could take a couple of minutes where it's not going to look good, but you can't have 6 minutes where you don't hit a field goal.
No, you'll end up like Oklahoma State this weekend, where Iowa State's up by 20 early in the game. And then, you go 5 minutes scoreless, and anything can happen in the Big 12. I don't want to say the win streak's fraudulent, but there are some caveats to it.
It's a strong word, yeah.
There are some parts that's like, oh yeah, Baylor's won 4 straight, but
yeah, there's some things to poke some holes in.
It's the easiest stretch of the schedule they're going to see in conference play far and away. And so you definitely take that into account. Kansas now tonight brings in Jalen Wilson, who I think is the best player in the Big 12. Nobody would really argue that either. He's pretty clearly the Big 12 player of the year as of right now. Grady Dick, also heck of a name. Used to be able to shoot 3-pointers, but for some reason can't right now.
People thought he was better than Keontae.
And I don't know who's going to consistently successfully guard either of them, but I do have the good news that Baylor's gonna win this game. The reason why is coming up right after I tell you about LinkedIn Talent Solutions. LinkedIn Talent Solutions is how I got my job. What is my job, you ask? I can't tell you yet, but I've taken a couple of jobs. I don't know. I'm still looking for some, but there are some that I've said yes, and then I'm in the interview process, and all of it, LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Because you can go right now. You need to hire somebody to do your stuff. Like I should probably hire somebody to edit these podcasts so that I don't have to edit and record and do all the stuff in the middle of a Dallas Cowboys game. I'm going to go find that person to do it via LinkedIn Talent Solutions, LinkedIn.com. Purple hashtag hiring frame. Find the people that can fit your company culture. There's screening questions. There's all kinds of stuff in there. There's like vetting process where where LinkedIn is here to help you find who you need to work in your offices. So LinkedIn.com/locked-on, LinkedIn.com/locked-on college. That's going to get you there. Then you can find somebody with their purple hashtag hiring frame. They're rated #1. A billion people use their site. Go find the person that you want to work for you. LinkedIn Talent Solutions. Terms and conditions do apply. Baylor.
Man, people salivating to hear that you might be taking another job. They love it. They're going to love it in the comments.
Yeah, my 7th post-grad. I got to do something, right? I got to make some money. Baylor, the Bears, taking on a Kansas team coming off of 2 straight losses, one to TCU. TCU good at basketball. Kansas was at home and a loss to Kansas State on the road. Fluky. Kansas is a better team than TCU, or better team than Kansas State at least. I think Kansas is a better team than Baylor right now, but the Bears win this game. The Jayhawks have a lot of stuff to figure out. They are battling some demons. They are 7-12 against the spread this season too. And right now, ESPN's FPI projector gives Baylor a 69.7% chance of victory. Here's why Baylor wins this game. They've won 2 straight in Waco. They've won 4 out of the last 9 meetings against the Jayhawks. They had won 4 out of 34 meetings prior to that.
I was going to say, that's like 8 of 9 against any other team.
Yes. So they basically had Kansas's number more so than they have any other time in program
history. The way
history.
the Red Sox had Mariano Rivera's,
the last couple of years. Yeah. This is going to be the best atmosphere the Farrell Center sees this year. It's not because Baylor's playing basketball. It's because Kansas is playing at Baylor. Jerome Tang made great points about this against Kansas State. People are not showing up to these games because Baylor's playing basketball. People are showing up to this game to root against Kansas. You can say that I'm wrong, but there's a reason that the place was a quarter empty against Oklahoma State a couple of weeks ago when Baylor was on this uptrend. That's going to factor into this Monday night game, the only ranked matchup of the night. The crowd is going to be insane, and Kansas is battling too many demons. They've exposed some holes the last couple of games. They have not shot the ball particularly well. They really didn't at Allen Fieldhouse. And so, look, Baylor's defense is not great. It's not going to be great, but Oklahoma State missed open shots in the Farrell Center. Kansas is going to do the same thing. It's just kind of what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shooting part is such a big part of it. Because, like I mentioned earlier, I think they remind me so much of Kansas State, who has not been like a terrific defensive team, Kansas State, but they've really filled it up on the offensive end. It's the same with Kansas. It's really feast or famine offensively. And the few games I've seen them play this year, it's been a lot of famine, and they've just kind of found ways. I think back to one of their first games of the year against Duke, and that was a total rock fight. And you know, we was kind of like, oh, well, this is the 4th game of the season. Can't say much about it. And here we are in January, and they're having more rock fights. And so that's just what this team is. And Baylor, I just don't know. In so many years in the past, I'd be like, if Kansas isn't hitting their shots, that favors Baylor so much because they're going to come out and play better defensively. They always do. And this year's just that's a caveat. I'm like, I don't know what defensive team is going to show up for Baylor. Kansas does get in the passing lanes quite a bit. I think they're like second in the conference in steals or first in the conference in steals. So that's where I'm worried about that 5-minute lapse. How many times is Baylor going to turn the ball over? And that's going to lead to transition points. That's my biggest key to the game, if you're wondering.
This is
I still like Baylor's chances here. Maybe I'm being too optimistic.
If I got to bet the house, I'm betting on Baylor. And I think most people across the country would. When you look at some of the storylines and trajectories going into this game, there will be 16 different NBA teams here as well to go into the game to see, Keontae George and the like. I mean, Grady Dick obviously has got some prowess, NBA prowess. Baylor's the second youngest team in the Big 12. Like they're figuring some stuff out. They're getting there. Yep. And this is a game. What do young teams do? They feed off of hype. They feed off the crowd. It's a whiteout. This is the game. I can already see it. Baylor's going to start up 9-0, and the crowd's going wild, and Scott Drew's firing them up, and Bill Self calls a timeout. And then as soon as the timeout happens, the whole place is bump, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum-da-da. And here comes that bald guy. Hey, guys. I'm here to tell you about Pizza Hut. And then
check the QR code on your seats.
Yes, everything sinks down for about 6 minutes. Kansas goes on a run. Now the Jayhawks are up 19-18. You're like, oh, what happened to us here? Oh, what's going on? The world's falling. It's going to be a game. It's going to be a game of runs. That is cliche, but this is truly what it's going to be. The crowd's going to be energetic. It's a young Baylor team who's going to feed off of that, feed off of Scott Drew's energy, and they're going to win in the end by 6. They're going to hit some free throws late. It's going to look a lot like what the game against Kansas in Waco looked like last year. That's I feel like where these two teams are right now. Baylor's going to win this game. It's just not going to be this tactical, surgical, I love it. It's going to be, oh, here's a spurt here, a spurt there. Boom. Clock hits 0, you're up.
You're going to, I think it's going to be one of those ones where you change your prediction 4 or 5 times during the game. Be like, this ain't it. This ain't it. Oh, Baylor's going to win this by 20. No, this ain't it again. I actually pretty much agree with all of that. I was going to mention just the surge that they're going to get from the crowd, and I think that's going to be so key for especially shooting teams. I don't know why that is, but 3-point shooting teams just really thrive off a crowd. Yeah. And I think Baylor is
the OU crowd didn't give them much, hence the 36% shooting.
They did not. That is a school that doesn't care much about their men's basketball or baseball teams. But anyway, this ain't a bashing OU podcast yet. I like Baylor close. I do.
And if Baylor loses,
it's gonna be fun.
I will not be shocked. That's okay.
No, I don't think they get blown out. I mean, there is that window with any 3-point. A team that relies on the 3-point shot as heavily as Baylor does. But I don't think so.
I've seen too many big crowd games where Baylor's just shot the ball well. Texas Tech.
I've seen too many big crowd games where Baylor loses close.
True.
Rather not have that again.
In multiple sports. Actually.
A lot of basketball.
Scott, actually, here's how you know, as I love it. Here's how you know that it's like one of those games where the fans are going to show up primarily because the opponent, like if this game was against Iowa State, it would not be a packed sellout. It's because it's Kansas. They did media. Scott Drew did media. So I have press conference clips. Doesn't always happen for opponents that he does media, but Kansas, of course. So Scott, before we go into this game tonight, what do you think about the old Jayhawks?
What's going on with you guys? Well, I think first and foremost, we've been healthy. We've had guys that have been able to practice together, get some chemistry together, and then that's allowed us to get some wins. That builds confidence. We've gotten better in practice. Players are adjusting to rotation roles, buying into whatever that role is to help us win. So, again, play one possession games, anything can happen, but it's sure nice being on the right side of them.
And how about Jalen, just what he's been contributing?
I think all of us have seen him shoot it like that in practice since this summer. So when he got off to a slow start, we were all surprised, but he did what you want any player to do, and that is when they're struggling, you want them to work harder. And he's always worked hard, but he's gone to another level, and that's paid off.
Coach, you guys are kind of on the reverse side of what Kansas is right now, winners of 4 straight. How does that confidence kind of materialize into this next matchup? Obviously the biggest one of the season.
Well, I think every coach would rather have the winning streak rather than the losing streak, but at the same time, you know how quick things flip in the Big 12, and that's why it's such a tough conference, because it's hard to get long win streaks, and there's constant success, adversity, and you got to be strong-willed to be able to battle through both of those. So I know it's a home game for us. We got to defend the home court advantage, and I know, Coach Self's a Hall of Fame coach. You got to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves.
Going along with that home court advantage, how big does that help kind of the atmosphere that's bound to happen?
Well, that's why you look at the winning percentages on the home court versus the road. And, it's astronomical, extreme advantage. And it started with, I remember when I first got in the league, Roy Williams said, the Big 12 is the hardest league to win on the road. And he was right, and that's what makes a great league is in the non-conference you win your home games, and then in conference play you got to hope to get lucky on the road and take care of business at home.
You've obviously been had a lot of big Monday games. What can you do to prepare for such a quick turnaround?
Well, I think it's obviously the toughest turnaround, Saturday to Monday, but the great thing is both teams are in the same predicament. So it's short notice for both of us. At the same time, it's a great opportunity, great blessing to be on Big Monday to showcase the league. And then it does allow you 2 days or a day to regroup before the next weekend. Well, I think first Oklahoma deserves a lot of credit. Their defensive scouting report, attention to detail, and one thing, shooting's going to come and go. We all know the NBA, and Steph Curry, once or twice a year, he's going over. And could be an off night, could be the defense, but nobody can force shots to go in, and that's why usually good shooters make 35 to 40%. That means they're missing 6 out of 10. So it's all the other things that you really want to have, that the defense, the assists, the rebounding, and his plus-minus was tremendous, so he did a lot of the other things.
Coach, what's the biggest thing you think this team needs to do to get the win on Monday against Kansas?
I think what we've been doing to win games is we haven't been turning it over. For the most part, we've been taking pretty good shots, and the shot selection's been good. And then we've been rebounding it better on both ends. And then defensively, you gotta make sure that you're not giving up easy buckets. And against TCU, that was the number one thing we did. And I think we've gotten better since then.
In the broadcast, they called you guys first half the Warriors of college basketball. You just mentioned Steph Curry. So, are you guys leaning into that? Do you agree with that?
I usually don't listen to the broadcast, but I know Jay Williams was awesome. He talked to our guys the night before, and what a God thing. He hadn't done a lot of college games, and I think it's his second college game in I don't know how many years, happens to be our game, and he's been talking to John through and helping him through this recovery, and the fact that they got to spend some FaceTime, and I know I'm very appreciative because there's not many people have gone through what Jay or John have gone through, and for Jay to take the time to help him out and be there to support him is awesome.
Scott, on the Warriors note, you guys were 3 of 16, missed 13 of your first 16. Does it say something about the confidence of the shooters and your trust that you're going to let them shoot those shots?
I think as long as they're good shots, we always want to take them. And we'll play the percentages that we're going to make more than we miss because we have good shooters. And then we got to do everything we can to get rebounds when we're not making them. But if you're moving the ball and you're getting high percentage shots, that's all a coach can ask for.
Scott, Jalen Wilson, he's had a spectacular year. What does he bring to those guys?
About 40 points a night. But he's been playing really well, and he's been doing it from 3. He's been doing it in the paint. He gets to the free throw line. He rebounds. Coach Self's done a great job putting him in positions to be successful, and he's done a great job taking his game to another level this year.
And what does Grady Dick bring to that
Somebody that there's a reason he's projected a lottery pick by most of the draft boards is anyone that has that quicker release and can shoot at that higher percentage is greatly valued in college basketball and the NBA these days. And he's somebody that you definitely have to know where he's at all times, because he can make 2 or 3 threes before you blink an eye.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, you guys enjoy your night. Cowboys at 6-6. Just here to help, all right?
That was Scott Drew. This is Drake Toll. That's Cameron Stewart. This has been Always Will Be Locked on Baylor. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. I'll see you at the game tonight. You going to the game?
I am. I got to try and convince my girlfriend to go, because we're coming from a state championship pep rally, but you have a pass. You have a credential. I don't for this game.
I have a car pass, though. I can
go.
park and get you parking. So
that's pretty cool.
That'll work. Were there pots and pans out there?
Yeah, my dinner's ready, so.
I got a pizza waiting for me. Locked
nice.
on. You guys know. Baylor.